first case in 28 when we first arrived, and this is the natural landscape. So do you see where you're standing? And then this is his wife, Rose. Rose is standing right here in the natural landscape. Now by the spring of 28, it becomes the living room. So Edwards clearly has a sense. It takes him 4 years to build, and it's a total of 11 years that he actually spends here. And then this is this room being built. You'll be walking up here in the original museum. This is Paiute Butte, and behind me was actually their waterfall. Edwards kept a hidden wooden tank upstairs. They would tell people he had a spring in his living room. Although the spring was actually 3 miles south of here. It was called Lovejoy Springs, where Lake Los Angeles currently is. And then this is this room completed in 28. Again, he's built it in sections over the course of 4 years. And this is where the museum will be built. He starts construction at 31. So here we are again. This is the Butte. Actually, this butte was actually originally called Hex Butte. Edwards renames it for the Paiute Indians. And also misspells it. So here we are, Construction Museum in 31. Now, also part of the history of this museum is the second owner, Grace Oliver. Grace Oliver was visiting the valley in 1939. She saw this strange half-timber tutor arrive over the distance. She was staying at a friend's cabin about a mile southwest of here. She drove back that same Saturday with her mother and daughter. She purchased the entire 160 acres. She bought the home and she bought the contents of the home. She added her collection of American Indian artifacts to his collection and gradually opened the entire home as the Antelope Valley Museum. Now, curiously, in 1948, she did that in 1939. In fact, she bought it without ever meeting Mr. Edwards. They didn't meet for another year, and they did that tour again. So in 1945, Grace basically joins Mr. Edwards here. She stuccoes the building. The murals that you see on the exterior of the building are the original murals from 1945. So they do that. They construct Oregon cottages at large, 2 that he constructed previously in the 1930s. 1948, Grace Oliver is in ill health, and the 3rd iteration of this museum completes. It becomes the Golden Mesa Dude Ranch. So people come out here for a Western Expansionist experience. It's advertised in the desert magazines. So Grace Oliver leaves. 1952, Grace Oliver returns. She's well, and she buys it back. And this is what she gets when she buys it back. The Dude Ranch had put in this. So when you've been out at the Ramada today where people are dancing, they're actually dancing on what used to be like a pool. And unfortunately, well, fortunately for the state, because the state does not like pools, there are only 3 state park pools, 2 at San Simeon and 1 at the Adams House in Malibu. This is no longer with us. And then in 1952, she invites Mr. Edwards to help her reinstall the collection. So this room is very much kept in the spirit of the 1930s collector. We have 800-year-old pots just sitting out as wood coming into collection, which is quite unusual for museums. This room is what we call the Southwest room. This is an example of the 1952 interpretation. Mr. Edwards had basically retired in 1945 from teaching at Lincoln High School. He then begins an artist position, artist in residency, arts preparer at the Southwest Museum. The Southwest Museum is a preeminent American Indian museum in Los Angeles, in Highland Park, sort of El Sereno area. He meets a young graduate student from UCLA, Charles Rosaire, and Charles Rosaire and he come up and help Grace Oliver reinstall the collection. Grace Oliver told people she had a degree from UC Berkeley in anthropology. For 50 years, people believed her. She had taken 2 field classes. Howard Norton Edwards was a pot robber, a grave robber. He had no education or formal education. So Charles Rosaire is the first person to interpret the collection with an anthropological and archaeological stance. So this is an example of an interpretation from 1952. So then 1979, Grace Oliver was going to actually sell the collection to a German collector, which luckily for us, one of her friends, Burl Amspoker, forces the hand of the state of California. She donates to
Nicolette.
everything you see is original. By example, this mural, which is actually says the art in Edwards 28, Yapaki. That's the year he built this room. Yapaki is the Anglicized Zuni name that he gives them all his grandchildren. Not a lot of things are labeled, so you
Hello.
where you see the exposed part of the view just behind us. He created an entire view of sound. He would rest his heavy prints up in wig, hands in and they would perform as narratives. The two, about 2,000 people came out for 31 performance. 75 cents, beautiful Lancaster. So that went for 31 to 35. Well, if you can imagine, at that same time, so a lot to look at. Those are all original pieces of the museum. Items down here. Now, there's Indians that have been selling.
You don't want to eat in here.
Just 3 miles south of us, there's this, or was this. That was a village site. If you can imagine at Lovejoy View, one of the 5 views in the area, there was a spring. Because of the San Andreas fault line, this valley has springs and sack pools. So Moody Springs, just east of Lake Los Angeles. Due south 3 miles was Lovejoy Springs. Now, Lovejoy Springs, unfortunately, that area used to be called Wilsona. It was actually founded during the railroad presidency. Then in 1967-68, developers from Los Angeles, William Watt, brought 4,000 acres to create Lake Los Angeles. This wasn't large enough for the envisioned lake, and it tried to enlarge it, they collapsed it. So Dawn is one of the springs in the valley. In enlarging it, they actually they find a burial site with some individuals, 1,000 prestige. Now, is anyone from Palmdale? Okay, so in Palmdale, 24 miles southwest of us, there's another spring associated with Palmdale. It's called Beryl Springs. That was a village site. There's still water there. There's still artifacts there. It dates to about 5,000 BCE. Upstairs at the bottom of case number 25, you're going to see this outfit, which is a steatite or soapstone cooking bowl. This would have been quarried on Catalina Island by Tonga American Indians, taken by Quick in 26.
You going down?
The weapon. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they could. Yes, you just read that up too. You do. But like I said, little fellows, I think that's, that's the uptown. I keep forgetting to ask why. You know the reason?
Red native
Yeah.